Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the upper gusset pieces. You're going to have your outer and your lining. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the ends together. We're going to stitch them together at 1/4 inch, both the outer and the lining. I have got my stitch length at a 3. I've got my outer panels, I've got my upper gusset panels right side to right side, and I'm going to sew at 1/4 inch. I'm going to get my lining and do the same exact thing. Now I'm going to switch my stitch length to a 4, and then I'm going to open up my seams, and I'm going to stitch down one side and back up the other. We've got our outer upper gusset, we have got our lining for our upper gusset, and we have got our last zipper. What we're going to do, if you haven't already, find the center of your back, the center of the front, and the center side seams. By putting the front and the back together, you can find your center side seams. You need to do that both on your outer, your lining, and your zipper if you haven't done it already. Now what I'm going to do is turn my outside panel inside out. I'm going to grab my zipper, and I'm going to put right side to the right side of the outer part of my gusset. Okay. Then I'm going to go directly across. So I've got my front and my back clipped. Now I'm going to come to my sides, put a few clips, and then I'm going to do each side, and then I'm going to clip all the way around. I just like to do my reference points first, and then I'll go all the way around. Alright, so once I've got my zipper onto my upper gusset, you can go ahead and sew it, base stitch it on if you want to. It's going to be tight, just like the zipper was on the bottom. There's a reason for that. But I'm going to go ahead, instead of base stitching this on, I'm going to go ahead and put the back of my lining right side to the right side of my center zipper gusset, and then the rest of it will go the right side of my lining to the wrong side of my zipper. And I'm just going to add it in with my clips. Alright, let's take this to the sewing machine. Alright, got my gusset in. I'm going to sew with my lining facing me. I've got my stitch length at a 3. And we're using 1/4 inch seam allowance. Sorry. Alright, so our gusset is all sewn. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our outer gusset and our lining gusset and move it and pull it away from our zipper. And what I like to do is match up our notches first. We are not going to be base stitching this closed. We're going to be putting our Peltex inside of this if you're going to be adding your Peltex. I'm just clipping it so that it'll stay away from the zipper, and it'll kind of help my lining and my outer to stay away from my lining and my zipper. Alright, so I always like to start all of my top stitching and all of my stuff in the very back of my bag so that you don't have that start and stop in your front. I'm just going 1/8 of an inch with a, 4 stitch seam allowance, or a 4 stitch length. Almost kept going with it. And I'm just making sure that my lining is pulled, my lining and my upper fabric is pulled away from my zipper, and I'm just going to go all the way around. Alright, we've got our upper gusset all together. The next thing that we need to do, and again I'm going to be starting on the back, is we're going to take our Peltex and we're going to slide it in there and get it as close to the bottom seam as possible, and then I'm going to clip around to keep it in place. So just kind of slip it in there, and then I'll start at my notches and I'll clip it. Alright, now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch this close. Alright, so we're going to start in the back. I'm going to try and push my lining towards the outside so that I make sure that I get all of this closed. We're just going 1/8 of an inch with a 4-stitch length. You want your Peltex all the way up there as much as possible so that it's not in your seams or anywhere near them. We do not want that bulk in there for the very last step. So that's why I try and make sure that Peltex is as flush as it can be with that inside seam. Alright, so we got this, our top panel. Your zipper is going to connect to your top panel. The way we're going to do that is make sure that you've got your front and your back situated, which you want to be your back. We're going to match up, actually turn that wrong side out, match up our back notches, and then just start matching up our notches all the way around. You are going to have to snip into your zipper. Don't make a ton of snips, but you are going to have to make a few snips in your zipper to get it to go around those curves. Alright, so we are going to go around again 1/8 of an inch with a 4-stitch length. We're just securing the zipper to our front of our bag, and you may need a stiletto or something to kind of help you with your zipper kind of going around these corners right. Just take your time with this zipper because this is going to show. If you kind of get your wacky seam allowances, it'll show. So just take your time. Alright, after hearing so many people online having issues with their zippers unraveling, it's freaked me out. So, what I'm going to do is something weird, and I'd rather be weird and have my zipper not fall apart than for have my zipper unravel. So I'm going to take, you see all these snips that I made right along here so that it would go around that round edge? I'm going to take my lighter and I'm just going to lightly go over those spots that I cut. Because my zipper tape is nylon, it'll melt. You see how it's melted and there's no frayed edges? I'm going to do that on all of my corners to make sure that I don't have to worry, and be careful doing this, I don't have to worry about that zipper tape coming unraveled. Alright, now that we have got this all attached, our little notches are all burned so that they don't come undone. Next thing you're going to need to do is grab your brush panel. Your brush panel is going to need to have the center of both the front and the back, and the center of both the sides. I'm going to line up the back with the back, the front with the front, just like we've been doing this entire time. we're just matching up our 4 notches. Alright, once you get this all together like that, we're going to go around 1/4 inch and start sewing all the way around. On one of the sides, you're going to need to leave a space to turn this inside out. You're going to need to leave yourself a decent amount of space if you're using vinyl. You may be upset with me if you don't. So leave yourself a decent amount of space to turn this inside out. Alright, so I've got my stitch length at 3. I'm going to start on this corner here. And I'm kind of lifting this up like this as I'm starting on that side. Alright, so we've got it all sewn. I've left myself a hole to turn that inside out of. I think I should have made it a little bit bigger, but that's alright. We live and we learn. So I'm just grabbing those corners first and pulling them towards the opening. Alright, so we have got everything turned inside out. Looks good. The next thing that we got to do is we've got to close this up. Now, if you've ever made a math pack, in the instructions, that she tells you how to do like the top stitching and being able to catch this inside of it, but I literally can never seem to catch my lining when I'm doing that. So I always take some thread and a ladder stitch and close this up first. That seems to be the only way that I can make sure that I don't have to come back and pick stuff out. So I'm putting my thread and needle through the inside of the lining so that the tail of my knot that I have yet to make is on the inside of my lining, and you won't see that knot at all. So I'm going to pull it through and start right there. And because I'm left-handed, I'm probably going in the opposite direction in which you would start, and that's okay. So I'm just folding this lining down with the brush panel, the amount, little, right at 1/4 inch. I'm just going to clip that down so that it'll stay in place for me. A ladder stitch is basically you're going back, you're going across, over, back across, over, back across. In the written instructions, there's a diagram of exactly kind of what I'm doing, but yeah, for video purposes and you needing to see what I'm doing. So I came through my lining. I'm going to go over into my zipper tape. Now your zipper tape, you need to start sewing, this one over a little bit, right across. So if you wanted to, you could take your thread and take it over, and then you could see where you need to put your needle. You're going to put your needle in and out, just like you would with a running stitch. So just one in and out. Okay, and then I'm going to pull it through. I'm not going to pull it taut just yet. And then you can take a thread and bring it across, so from the zipper side to your lining side, and see where it lands. Put your needle in and your needle out, and then pull it through. And if you want to, take a thread to the opposite side and see where it lands. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I'll try and zoom in as much as I can. You're going to go in and out. And if you do use the foam, it's going to be just a little bit thicker. If you have a problem getting your needle out, you can always grab your, there we go, pliers. Alright, now it's going to be a little bit easier because I'm going to come down here. Take a thread, go across, see where it lands on your lining. Go in and out. Again, take your thread over to this side, see where it lands. Go in and out. Would this be a good time to have a thimble? Yes, yes it would. Alright, take your thread to the opposite side and you're going to go in and out. There are tons and tons and tons of videos on ladder stitches, so if you can't see what I'm doing or it's just not clicking, go and check out ladder stitches, the ladder stitch. You can take your thread to the opposite side, see where it lands, stick your needle there, in. The ladder stitch is a really good stitch to know because I use it a lot. On a lot of stuff, it's a good way to close things up without seeing that you closed it up, and you'll see once we pull the thread taut what I mean by that. Alright, and then take a thread back over to this side. We're going into our elastic now. Just kind of down and up. Now, let me take a second and show you guys what we're doing here. So we're going to pull our thread taut. And you might have to shove that zipper in there. When you pull it taut, it covers up all of those stitches so that you don't see them. I normally don't pull till I get a decent amount, but you want to pull really easily so that you don't break the thread. So I would do, I don't know, maybe 6 stitches and then go back and pull. You don't want to go too far down. Alright. Take a thread across again. In and out, in and out. That's all we're doing. Take the thread across like that to see where it needs to go. Alright, so I am going to, without continuing to talk, go ahead and sew all the way across and close this up. Alright, so I've gone all the way across. It's closed all of this up for me. I made a little double knot here. I'm going to stick my needle into my lining a little ways, and then I'm going to pull it taut and pull that knot in, and then trim my thread off. I'm pulling it taut and cutting it, and it'll go back into your lining. Alright, now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch. I knew I was going to forget to tell you guys, but if you didn't use foam and you wanted to use the Peltex on the inside of the top here, you should have put it in before you closed up your hole. That should be a duh, but I just keep forgetting sometimes. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the back, and then we're just going to top stitch all the way around. We don't have to worry about catching that underlining or anything like that. We just need to top stitch. I've got my stitch length at a 4, and I'm going 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And I realize that you guys probably aren't going to be able to see, you know, everything that I'm doing. I've got you as close as I think I can get you without you just looking at my sewing machine. Alright, that's as close. And my hands are probably going to be all up in it too, so I'm sorry.